Well, today the elections have been called, but before we talk about that, let's highlight this. Today it became known, the Objective published it, the complaints. We already knew he had them and that he expressed them, but of course not this explicitly, right? With the WhatsApp message from Florentino to Rubiales in the 18-19 season. This was on January 6th, 2019. Well, it was just before the thing with Pichu Cuellar and Leganes at Barça Stadium. That was, let's say, the biggest thing. Remember that, right? Those images that were hidden from us and that we discovered on Bein Sports. And we said, we've seen this here. And then all the chaos that followed, right? And here, I have to say, welcome Madridistas. I haven't said anything yet. By the way, Florentino did very well. The pity is that something more forceful was missing, right? And why? Well, because of interest, because of things, because of what we've been talking about in the last videos, because they're in bed with Barca, and because Madrid indeed lacked forcefulness in this. And the forcefulness, and then Collins will explain it, since I took an excerpt from his video, which I thought was masterful. What could Real Madrid have because of its more than 800 million followers on social media? Forget about TV, forget about Real Madrid TV, which very few people watch. And what happens is that indeed some Real Madrid TV videos can go viral and so on, but nothing compares to the power that Real Madrid has. The shame is that all these years, its full potential hasn't been used to complain about the real root of the problem. About a club paying the head of refereeing at a company like MediaPro. Why hasn't Florentino gone after MediaPro the way he should, like he did with the press and the media and all that, right? Well, against that already documented refereeing injustice, with your biggest rival paying a refereeing chief for more than 2 decades, with a company like MediaPro managing VAR and back then broadcasting the matches, what about that, huh? What I just said about Pichu Cuellar and the Barça Leganés match at Camp Nou, they were the ones controlling everything there. Well, why wasn't there more pressure there? It's a real shame, especially so people know. The more than 800 million Real Madrid followers on social media, so they would know. We're all in the same boat. You need to control the narrative, but the Barca people have been controlling it instead of you, and now you go to a press conference and start cursing everything. It's not enough. Of course it's not. Then we'll get to this message. But first, well, the call for elections by the board of directors of Real Madrid. And then, by the way, we'll also talk about that play in a match between Barça and Getafe that Florentino complained about. But let's continue. Florentino. Vamos, back then, the Negreira case wasn't known yet, but instead of complaining about plays, we should complain indeed for years and years of payments and everything that has happened. The call for president and board of directors elections. Candidates can submit their applications from May 14th to May 23rd. That is from today until May 23rd. You know that tomorrow is a holiday in Madrid. It's not a working day. It's San Isidro, and then the weekend follows. It was 10. How many is it? 10 days, right? 10 days. From the 14th to the 23rd of May, both included. That's 10 days. 10 calendar days, not working days, not business days. I don't want to think that they also wanted to take advantage of Friday, May 15th, San Isidro Day. It's unbelievable. But anyway, this is very little time, very little time. Yesterday I said, and mind you, I know you're already hammering away at the keyboard. No, because you're with Riquelme. I'm not with anyone. I'm just stating a fact. To me, this seems like very little time. Well, since the journalists are against me and so on, let's call for elections. Yeah, I don't know what you think, but it doesn't seem like the best way to me. Although yesterday, after an interview with Pedro Heron from Florentino, I was saying, hey, it's true that Florentino, in the year 2000, they were called quickly and he had to get his act together, and hey, he did it, right? And Florentino was proud of that. And I said, well, damn, it's true. Wait, it wasn't quite like that. They were called on May 30th after we won the 8th, and Lorenzo Sanz said, this is my chance. Here, with all the financial problems Madrid had, he said, but I just won the 8th, damn it, I'm calling elections. Nobody expected anyone to beat Lorenzo Sanz. Do you know when the vote happened? July 16th. And here the vote would be around, I don't want to be too far off, June 7th, I think, June 7th, it would be June 7th or 8th, I don't know. I think the Pope is coming on the 8th, right? of June, so it has to be before that. There's a difference. There's at least a month's difference. So, of course, for Florentino, now that's right. Florentino had already earned the recognition of el conocimiento from the members about his reputation. He had already run in the elections, and Florentino had already worked to make himself known. Something that Riquelme hasn't done because, among other things, Enrique Riquelme is complaining in the letter, which he wrote very unfortunately, politely and with a good attitude, thanking Florentino, etc. But, well, the members still don't know him very well yet. But whose fault is that? Isn't it Enrique Riquelme's fault? He should have introduced himself, right? We heard him speak in 2021, and now photos of him with famous people, including Albiz, are appearing. Some are posting these to hurt him. Me, for example, many times there are people who take pictures even with the devil himself, right? That's why on many occasions the whole photo thing is very tricky. But anyway, I insist, I really don't care. I'm talking about this man because he's the one who might run. And now we're talking about Klopp, but anyway, it's a bit of good and a bit of bad. Florentino had little time, but this man will have even less. Florentino was better known by club members. Riquelme complains he isn't as well known, but that's his fault for not making himself known, which Florentino did. So what would happen? El Confidencial is publishing it today, and I'm not naive. I want you to know that. El Confidencial is Florentino's archenemy. In fact, they had to pay because of that court ruling about Florentino's audio recordings and so on. They have it in for Florentino. A lot of people have it in for Florentino in Spain. I want you to know that despite what I'm going to play from Collins, which is pure good sense and common sense, and what I've been saying since Florentino's press conference, based on what I see with my own eyes and after processing it in my mind, what I have to say. About this, I can't lie to you. I can't say anything different from what I think, but I also tell you, and I've defended Florentino a million times, among other things, against all these scruffy people and all these lousy guys from Podemos who have now taken advantage of Florentino's words. Well, one of them from Podemos, the one with the long hair, came out to say that he was insulting Ronaldo Nazario, Ronaldo the fat one. When yesterday Florentino referred to Ronaldo Nazario, and he said, look, Ronaldo the fat one. But that's how everyone called him. Then Juanjo Maqueda wrote saying, but we all called him that, right? By the way, Juanjo Maqueda trained Ronaldo, well, when he was with Lopez Caro, right? And well, that's it. All these vultures have taken advantage of it who haven't done anything in life. Well, they take advantage of it to attack Florentino, and you'll always have me. All those miserable people will always have me in front of them, and in this case, next to Florentino. That doesn't change the fact that for me, he made a mistake in a press conference, or that right now, well, I think what I think, but I still have my priorities clear. But of course, including the thing with El Confidencial, and I'm saying this as a preamble because, well, El Confidencial and even the front page of El Mundo are promoting this man and all that, right? Look, I'm not naive, come on, okay? But it's one thing for media outlets and interested people to exist, that Florentino gets out of there, that they have it in for him and all that. And it's another thing how they explain it, well, the whole sports thing and all that, it just doesn't convince me. And then also, and now I'll bring in Collins, the thing is, I don't like being treated like an idiot, and I don't like being lied to regarding whether Real Madrid has defended itself in recent years, right? Stay until the end, really, with that way of thinking. Collins, and what I'm going to play from Collins's latest video, which is very interesting. Well, Riquelme summons his running mates at the last minute. Remember that yesterday he said at an event in Mexico, let's see if we can put something together that makes sense and we can run, right? And they say here that he has contacted Jurgen Klopp, which, by the way, is something I think Látigo Serrano already mentioned, to whom I send a hug from here. I hadn't seen it. Someone said that on Fuera Caretas, Látigo spoke well of me, Miguel Serrano, who shares my name. And it's true that many years ago, we used to run into each other there in Colau de Hialba, right? When we were very young, right? And he had kind words for me there, and I feel the same about him. I like him a lot, even when we ran into each other at Marca TV, working there on some occasions. Even though many people call him and he laughs about it, since he can handle the whole friendly fire thing. And if there are things that Miguel Serrano says, well, this Miguel Serrano doesn't agree with him. There are some things he does agree with, right? But anyway, the truth is he's a guy who brings out really good information and has really good information. And he already said this about Jurgen Klopp. As far as I know, I haven't heard it from his own mouth. But yesterday there was a tweet from Onda Cero where he collaborates, and they said it and attributed it to him, right? Well, I don't know if he was exactly saying that I had contacted him or that there could have been a deal if I contacted this man and maybe some signing, maybe a football player, and they didn't give any names, which is important. The businessman from Alicante plans to run in the Real Madrid elections, despite the challenge of quickly securing guarantees and a strong candidacy. And since this is behind a paywall and we're not going to subscribe to El Confidential here, they add, according to someone who has read it, Riquelme has recently held meetings with people close to Jurgen Klopp, a profile he believes would be successful at the club. The businessman has been in contact with the German circle for some time now, so that when the time comes, he can take the step towards the presidency. It would have been better if this man had made himself more known to the members. But well, it turns out there's also a dark horse who they say is going to run. This also came out today in The Objective, the businessman Eugenio Martinez Bravo, determined to fight for the presidency of Real Madrid. The critics of Florentino Perez's management see the call for elections as a unique opportunity. They have until May 23rd, the end of next week, heavy. This man sounds familiar, but I don't know him well. I'm not sure if this is about having a single candidacy. I don't think there will be more. Pero bueno, but well, and that they join forces among themselves, we'll see. We'll be here to tell the story. And now let's get to the Collins thing. And after this, the thing with Florentino Perez and Rubiales, well, for me, and I've told him this actually, and Collins had even sent me the link to his video because he knows that he and I are thinking the same thing here. And I swear to you, I usually watch Collins' videos from time to time, but in the last 2 or 3 days since the press conference, I haven't had time. I just haven't had time to watch anything because I've had enough with my own stuff and with my family and all this. So I didn't even know he thought this way, but I agree with every single word he says, right? At the beginning of the video, Collins says that there have been a lot of people who got upset and so on, so they stopped following him. A lot of people, but he complains about that, about what we've complained about many times here. And it's, well, everyone is free to do whatever they want. And the thing is, in this society that idolizes certain people a lot, and unfortunately, soccer has fallen into that, and so have many people. They're not fans of Madrid, they're fans of Vinicius, or they're fans of Mbappe, or they're fans of Florentino. Even when you say something against someone they idolize, they think you're idolizing the other side. Or someone else, or their rival, right? And you say, no, sorry, it has nothing to do with that. We live in a society where everything is black or white, everything is polarized. So if you say something against someone, they already say you're supporting the other side. Sorry, and no, sorry, that's not how it is. Colin says he's a Real Madrid fan, just like I said the other day. I'm a Real Madrid fan, not a Florentino Football Club fan, or a Vinicius Football Club fan, or an Mbappe Football Club fan. With that introduction, then he has a few minutes here where, honestly, I agree with every word.
If anyone hasn't defended Real Madrid, it's been the club itself. If anyone hasn't defended the Madrid fan base, its players, its coaches, the history and dignity of Real Madrid, it's been the club itself for many years. And you all know it. You all know it. Many years. Sure, the communication policy isn't crap, but it's the communication policy of this board of directors. So, for me, for a man to come out after 11 years in front of the press and take a few jabs at Canizares, Seguro, Canizales, Rola, Relaño, Jose Maria Garcia, and Castaño, and then you all say, great, he attacked the press again. But until when? Do you guys think that starting tomorrow, Real Madrid is going to make use of those 800 million users on social media, that arsenal, that media muscle, that not even all those general and sports media outlets together can reach? Not even half the reach that Real Madrid has, with 800 million users, as Florentino Perez proudly noted yesterday. Do you think Madrid is going to defend itself, not just from attacks by someone on Twitter, obviously not, but from attacks in the media, from attacks by institutions, club presidents, almost daily, almost every day? Or are they going to keep doing nothing like they have until now, without lifting a finger? If it happens, I'll be the first to say there's a change here. Hey, I can tell Florentino is serious, but the facts, not the words, the facts tell us that for many years, the only person who, as far as we know, gets defended by that communications apparatus governed by the absolute silence of Florentino Perez. When he's personally attacked, that mechanism activates to defend him.
Which I think is correct.
He must be defended because he is the president. In the same way that the players, the coaches, the fans, the members, the history, and the dignity of Real Madrid had to be defended, which has not been done. Despito, I fire them and nothing has changed for a long time. even though there was the ability to do so. It's just the media. Forget about the media. If we have the ability to defend ourselves from that, why hasn't it been done? So someone comes and stages that on the day they call for elections. We'll talk about that another day. But okay, well, hey, not you. And I can't trust him because the facts tell me that he hasn't done it, that they haven't done it. He gets his few digs in, that's fine. But I don't trust him. No. And he looks at me. I don't trust Florentino Perez, the current Florentino Perez, because he's lying to me. And that's the damn truth. And if you're fooling yourselves because of the idolatry you feel, I'm not.
Exactly. I refer again to one of my latest videos. I think I mentioned it in one of the last two, and also in yesterday's interview with Florentino. This was mentioned in last night's video during the review of the Betrayal interview. He says, as soon as I learned about the Negreira thing, which was recently, I said, no, this can't be, etc. That's why the relationship with Barca is broken, right? Sorry, don't lie to us, Florentino. I mentioned it in the last video, and also with the image from that assembly in November 2024 in the background, the European Cup, with the 15th already won. In case anyone has doubts that it was in November 2024 and the Negreira scandal was already in February 2023. Florentino is lying to us, but some may say it's not a big deal and suggest just watching the press conference. No, excuse me, but this is very serious, as Collins is arguing here, right? And it's a shame that because of idolatry, we don't see reality. Listen, it's a shame. But well, a lot of people have fallen for this. It's a real pity. People who have already left my channel and Collins' channel, unfortunately.
I only support Real Madrid. Florentino Perez lied about the Negreira issue, among other things. The Negreira issue was also brought up. He lied when a journalist brought up the shameful statements he made at the Real Madrid assembly. Not that long ago, and he claimed they were made before the Negreira case was known. That's a lie. Besides, it's a big lie. I mean, by about 2 years, something like that. It's not true. That's how he got out of it. He also lied when he said they had been making a dossier for 2 years, a 500-page dossier at the Christmas dinner or the last Christmas lunch with the press. Also, the dossier was 500 pages long, and they were also working on it, a 500-page dossier. So, well, the 500 pages have been created, and they're waiting. I can't trust you because you're lying about starting that dossier 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, Real Madrid, and this same president, I'll insist, for me, he's been the best we've had so far. But at that time, he has...
I think the same thing.
2 years ago, this president of Madrid, and I say it bluntly, betrayed Real Madrid. And he betrayed Real Madrid because in that matter, 2 years ago, Florentino Perez helped in every way, even helping FC Barcelona survive. Football, that's why I'm upset. I feel betrayed as a Madridista. So what I want is for this man to acknowledge that pain, that offense he committed, not just once, but repeatedly until Barcelona betrayed him, which in itself is already naive. What do you want me to say? If he really is a person with an unmatched strategic vision, which he has been, and now you've let yourself be stung by a scorpion you put on your own head, and then you say, oh, it stung me. But how could you fall into the naivety of believing that Barcelona wouldn't betray you? It was only a matter of knowing when. How can you react so strongly now just because Barcelona betrayed you? Well, that's how it's been, and I hope it stays that way, but up until half a year ago, that hadn't happened. It only became like that half a year ago. Since the Negreira case surfaced, Madrid has helped Barcelona even before then. Madrid has only helped Barcelona to survive, to be strong, and to compete with us. To compete? Yes, it's true. And not what they said yesterday.
It's just that it's true. It's not just about attacking with the Negreira thing. It's, well, he'll explain it now. The Olmo thing is the whole financial levers idea. It's a lot of things, dude. Sorry. I mean, we can't turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to that. Don't mess around.
But it's still unacceptable that Madrid, not Madrid, we have to be very precise here because Madrid hasn't given a dime to Barcelona. Nothing has come from the Madrid organization. But Florentino Perez did facilitate the 520 million through financial levers, which allowed Barcelona to keep their head above water. Barcelona was dead, I say bankrupt, but simply, they just couldn't get out of that situation anymore. When Laporta was asked 3 summers ago what he was going to do, how he was going to get the club out, that it was impossible to get that club out of where it was, he always answered that it was thanks to the Super League. The Super League fell through when Laporta heard, I'm leaving because I can't do this and I'm only here for the 300 million Florentino got him 520 million through Anastasio Lagari via a financial lever. For me, that's the biggest mistake Florentino Perez has ever made.
Exactly. And betrayal?
From being president of the, I insist, I think he has to make up for that. I expected yesterday's press conference to announce they'd filed a complaint, but they still haven't even held it. People claim it's been filed, but it hasn't.
Well, and then he talks about Dani Olmo, when Florentino gives Dani Olmo a wink in that Super Cup match, in the Super Cup final, like, you're playing here for me. I mean, due to Real Madrid's actions to disrupt La Liga, about the late registration we saw from that guy, because inscripción de un tío fuera de plazo, porque just because, honestly, look, those of you who have made it this far, I appreciate it. There will be people who have left because they can't tolerate people speaking badly about Florentino, or they can't stand it, or they can't watch it, so they've left. Well, look, those people have that problem. That's the problem with society, man. We don't face things, we don't confront them, and it happens in politics too. I mean, people who close their eyes to certain things from one side and the other, with some things, they're going to speak badly about the one I have idealized or whatever, and they turn their back on reality and things they're telling you that are true and that are documented, y que son clarísimas. And it's a shame. And that's how Madridismo gets divided, when all of us really should have asked Florentino for explanations. Hey, and what's the word? I forgot the word, darn. Penalize. I couldn't remember the word. Penalize what Florentino has done with Barca. For the Real Madrid fan, this is, well, he said it himself, right? With a really harsh word, but it's true. It's a betrayal. Sorry, it's a betrayal. And we're back to what we said at the beginning. Florentino, I'm not saying he didn't, made some moves at the time. For me, not enough. Because later, as he would later recount, para mí, insuficientes, porque luego como Collins too. But I'm not going to show you more of Collins' video. For that, go watch it. It's his latest video. As I said, he would talk about the cup final. Those referees, one of them threatening Real Madrid, another saying his son hears things because of Madrid's videos. That Madrid should have taken a firm stand at some point during all these years, and unfortunately they never did. Things might have turned out differently, because the real uproar you cause worldwide is when you finally manage to let everyone know, right, about what's happening. And you would have sped up this whole process that Real Madrid now wants to set in motion. It's already been 3 years. Well, Florentino's WhatsApp messages to Rubiales about the refereeing after the Negreira case. He told Rubiales, another disgrace today. Goal disallowed for Getafe against Barca. Poor Barca, he's done for. It's controlled by the same people, the same as always, without using technology, rigging the competition as they always do to suit themselves. I can't be a part of this. And good for Florentino there. Apparently, he was referring to this play, well, a penalty that wasn't called. He says, let's see, wait, on January 6th, Real Madrid loses to Real Sociedad. And right after January 6th, 2019, Barcelona faces Getafe. Right at the start of the match, Getafe takes the lead through Jaime Mata, but the referee, Guillermo Cuadra Fernandez, cancels it for a non-existent foul by Ángel Lenglet, who goes down as if struck. When he feels a slight touch on his back and sees the play will end in a goal. VAR decides to completely ignore the serious refereeing mistake, and Barca wins that match by the narrowest of margins, 1-0, right? Barca would end up winning that league. It's a shame. So, of course, Florentino says here, he was saying, hey, it's just that VAR controlled by the usual people. He was referring to the referees, but what Florentino, I think, meant. And Real Madrid didn't make enough of an effort, especially in terms of explaining it publicly and making sure everyone knew about it. The thing is, there was MediaPro with Jaume Rores, a supporter and guarantor of Laporta, and a company very closely linked to Barca. Besides the referees, and note this time they didn't meet Negreira but Florentino. The usual people are here, just like before, because both we and Real Madrid expected it. But there was never any real effort to explain this publicly. They never tried to control the narrative with this, and on the contrary, the others controlled the narrative instead. They've always told us referees never favored Madrid. But when the Negreira case emerged, there was shock at first. Then they called it fake news and claimed no evidence. It's unbelievable. And Madrid stayed silent for 2 years without using the influence they should have. And now they want to act. No, man, no. No, man, no. Now, fine, if you act now because you have all the power of Madrid, power that we or those of us who filed this complaint elsewhere don't have, because Madrid wasn't doing anything. Madrid can actually do it. It's more complicated for others, right? But, well, welcome to this, but late. And Florentino hasn't lied to us, even if people have a hard time accepting it. We're leaving. Thanks for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. Sorry you can't see me now, but you can still hear me, right? But you can't see me. I think the image disappeared at some point. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not going to cut the video. Well, we're leaving now, right? But anyway, I'll see you in the next one and I'll fix the camera. All right, take care. Bye.